Interdimensional communication. In your present culture there is much fear and misinformation surrounding the occurrence of multidimensional communication. Superstition and science both have added their share of negative interpretation of events of this nature. Popular consensus would place such events of communication into the categories of intentionally contrived hoax or into that of mental deficiency on the part of those receiving such communications. Religious factions, on the other hand, most often place such events under the category of demonic activity or attribute such communications to the work of some evil force. These ideas and misinterpretations are a direct result of the official reality program and its brainwashing. So much effort has been put into devaluing and negating the method of communication of knowledge that the true value of the knowledge is lost. This is unfortunate, as it leaves the majority of the human populace thinking that such communications do not really exist as such, or that if they do exist they are of some evil or malaligned source. This makes it quite difficult for other dimensional and other time helpers to offer their assistance to humans directly, as so few of you are receptive to the method by which that assistance is offered. It is our hope that in providing you with information about the true mechanics of multidimensional communication that you will be able to step outside of the program enough to put your prejudgments aside and learn something new and quite valuable. In your present time certain terms have been used to describe this process of information exchange: telepathy, mediumship, automatic writing, channeling. All of these terms give you a very vague conceptual understanding as to the true dynamics of this phenomenon. If you do not understand the mechanics of the process, then it will be difficult for you to decipher the source from which the phenomena emerge. Just as is the case with UFO sightings, what it is cannot be discovered using only one explanation. UFOs can be a variety of things. So too can be what appears to you as multidimensional communication. Not all UFO sightings imply live contact with other life forms, though some are indeed precisely such contacts. In the event of multidimensional communications, again, not all such communications imply live contact with other dimensional or inter-time beings. But some of these communications are indeed genuine contact with beings from systems other than your own. Learning to differentiate between the various possible explanations is necessary before an accurate assessment of the phenomena can be achieved in studying both UFOs and multidimensional communication. Some instances of subtle communications, we will use this term henceforth to replace the rather lengthy phrase of multidimensional communication, can be attributed to conditions existing within the mind of the receiver. And others are indeed intended fakes. Still other such events are quite legitimate occurrences of subtle communications with a live source, be it interdimensional, inter-time, intergalactic or originating from within your own Earth system. The latter you most often call telepathy, or mind-to-mind communications, but there is much you do not yet understand about the workings of telepathy alone. The important thing for you to understand at this time is that in all such cases of communication you are dealing with far more than the simple linking of minds as your term telepathy suggests. You are dealing with a highly sophisticated form of communication that is in itself a language. It is the language of light, sound, symbols and energy, that in our system is known as Kilonta. In our system Kilonta is the foundation for all other forms of learning, and it exists as a highly technical science and creative art form. The language of Kilonta is not merely a language as you think of it, but a tool, communications being one of its applications. Its dynamics are used in teaching and healing, but also in the literal formation of reality constructions where it serves as the structure upon which manifestations are built. The codes of the time portal system and the dimensional lock system are found within the workings of Kilonta, and it is also the method used by those wishing to communicate with your world through those systems. The point we would most like you to understand is that Kilonta, like any language, is a tool. In and of itself it cannot be judged as good or bad, godly or evil, helpful or detrimental to the human collective. It is a tool which can be used to convey meaning. The intention and skill with which that tool is used will determine its value. It is time that you put your fears and superstitions aside and begin learning the language of the stars, the language of your ancestors. The language that will allow you to evolve into multidimensional beings who possess technologies and wisdom beyond those now available to the visitors presently interacting with your Earth system. Do not let the official program rob you any longer of the knowledge that is your birthright and inheritance. Insight into why this method of contact is presently selected, as opposed to other alternative means of contact such as mass landings of spacecraft. For reasons that should be obvious to you, those wishing to assist or make their presence known to you cannot viably set a mothership down upon the lawn of the White House and schedule a press conference. Indeed, if the visitors were able to hold off the Zeta and the interior government, not to mention your official government, long enough to stage such an event. Their message and intentions would be lost amidst the panic and hysteria that such an event would generate within your ill-prepared masses. The interior government, Z2 and official governments have done such a good job at programming the masses into fear and disbelief reaction patterns that it would literally be useless to the visitors to attempt to reach you as a collective. The public has been brainwashed into denying the validity of their own perceptions and those of their fellow humans. For this reason, visitors, both of the helpful and harmful kinds, attempt to contact individuals or small groups of individuals that show some sign of receptivity to their intended contact. The non-helpful visitors will often choose those whom they believe are easily manipulated through the Kilonta codes. For centuries your people have been taught to subjugate their own authority and have delegated their ability to perceive clearly to objective authority structures such as government and religion. All of you have a right to know the truth about the conditions that directly affect you. Unfortunately for you, your governments do not agree with his premise. So as a collective you are quite certainly ill-prepared to meet directly ET visitors, no matter how benign their agenda may be. Part of the reason that many advances have been withheld from the general scientific and public communities is that this knowledge would give individual citizens the power to better direct their own lives, their health, their economic standing and their own protection. If the public had access to such abilities, the governments could no longer use such tactics as fear and intimidation to elicit blind obedience. They would lose control over their people and their people's resources as the people gained control over themselves. So the official program lie has been created and perpetuated to keep each of you in the dark, fearful and dependent upon the approval and support of outside authorities. You have been brainwashed and betrayed, and that also applies to those of you who think you are responsible for creating and maintaining the official program. Most of you have lost sight of the fact that alternative perspectives exist. Most of you have lost sight of what you have lost in succumbing to the program's tunnel vision. Some of you, in reading these words, will know the truth as these ideas move through you. You will simply know. And at first you will probably find anger, and beneath the anger, fear. For if what you have been brainwashed into believing is not truth, then what is true? It will feel as if you were upon a precipice overlooking an endless abyss, and you will not know where to turn, or whom to trust, or where to look for answers. Looking within, perhaps for the first time, to the core of your own spirituality will be the light that leads you through this darkness. Many of you will reject this data, perhaps heatedly, for that is seemingly far easier than facing the raw fear that can be generated by seeing the truth for the first time. Not all of you are ready to see the truth, for within the lies there existed the illusion of safety and comfort, and an innocence to the loss of freedom and integrity that the official program has created. You may choose to take the stance that what you don't know won't hurt you. Indeed, if it is hurtful it will hurt you, but in choosing blindness you may not be aware of the harm being done. You may not realize the sacrifice you have made until it is too late and death or disease have overtaken you. We care for all of you, and we hold all of you in high enough regard to offer you the option of viewing your reality as it exists, so you may make your choice consciously as to what you will believe. We exhibit far more personal respect and honor for you than do your governments and religious organizations who employ codes of discretion. Knowledge is intended for the many who are open to receiving it, not for the few who seek to use it to control, disempower, and manipulate the many it was intended to serve. Many humans within positions of power need to learn this simple lesson. It is the gift of knowledge that we offer you. Can you accept the gift? And so we have explained to you some of what you are up against in your evolution toward enlightenment. We have given you an idea of who the players are, where they come from, and what agendas they hold. Now we will let you know the rest of the story about the greater realities taking place within your present time, for those who are ready.